And we are live. Welcome to the SEO and AI news for week 38. So that's last week. I've gathered all the crazy news and stories and guides that I found useful, and I'll be sharing them here as a short summary. Remember, you've got all those news with links in the description, so you can copy them, send them out, and of course, read further into them. I'm just going to kind of present them and why they're important here. So yeah, let's get started. Let's start with some overall news here. We've got new Discover features. You can now start seeing X Shorts and so shorts from Instagram, YouTube Shorts, etc., in the Discover feed, which is quite important. It's a great source of traffic, and so now we've got this multi-channel approach. So again, your efforts on YouTube, Instagram will now be displayed in what I call Google functionality, which is Discover. So that's quite big news. Another one here is Penske Media Corporation. Apparently, has filed a landmark antitrust lawsuit against Google. They start by talking about rich snippets and how, without consent, you're just showing content without, going to the website. This whole lawsuit is about monopoly and about using the fact that you have a monopoly in search that you can just take their content, and so news sites are losing their revenue, which would be ad views, etc., etc. So not very great, and I can see their point. So again, this is just one another of these lawsuits on top of the antitrust DOJ trial Google is facing. Also, this one is big. Actually, this should be important must read because we've got last week, Google disabled a specific query parameter so that you can see 100 results in the SERPs. And third-party tracking tools have been using that to basically get the top 100 results very fast. And now they probably have to do a bunch more searches and go to page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So changing the way that ranking tools, third-party ranking tools are tracking, but also increasing the cost for those tools if they have to continue to track on top 100. So that's a big thing. So in your third-party ranking tools, Ahrefs, SEMrush, etc., you might see a drop in keywords, pages. Basically, just be very critical of what you're seeing in these recent times in there. And then in Search Console, the effect there is because we're seeing less scrapes. A lot of these tools are scraping the SERPs and they're creating impressions in the Search Console. So what we're seeing is a drop in impressions and sometimes as well an increase in average position. And this is really interesting. So also a drop in how many keywords, etc. Sometimes. And again, don't panic. Those impressions didn't matter anyway. The CTR will of course change as well, but that increase in average position also don't celebrate that too early. So I guess we've just got rid of a lot of like useless traffic, so to speak. So that's really interesting. Again, we've got our lovely, let's see here. Yeah, SERP alerts, by the way, is a great, what's it called? A great account to follow here on Twitter. One thing to note here, so what he's found out here is that there was a bug after this drop of the support here where Google apparently is to showcase a lot more ads in these SERP results. So it seems to be a bug, but a bug that is, well, quite convenient for Google, so to speak. And again, considering what we just talked about with this, actually this one should be important. The great decoupling. So Brody Clark is now talking about this parameter that Google dropped and everything I just talked about, and how it relates to the great decoupling, which we saw with AI overviews, where we saw an increase in impressions, a drop in clicks. And basically, I think like right now, this is one of the best resources in terms of talking about this recent change of Google and the tracking and all these kind of things. So just be very critical with what you're seeing in Search Console and third-party tracking tools. Read up on it. Google also commented on it, but it was very unclear comment, not really useful. And yeah, a bit of common sense. Also, a really good post here about structured data and LLMs in very simple terms. So again, very much like LLMs do understand it. They don't always see schema, but in some cases they will. I guess this kind of nails down everything that I understand and everyone else understands about structured data and LLMs and why it might matter, but not all the time. So kind of like a really good simple post that summarizes it pretty well. This one is interesting. So let's see. I think I have it up here. This is the entire Google SEO algorithm in one screenshot. That's pretty crazy. And again, it's based on the whatever Google has been forced to share during the Department of Justice trial against Google. And so they're forced to come up and share a few things. And what's really interesting is that he went through a lot of PDFs and everything to kind of nail down this screenshot. And I think one of the things that stands out is the trust and authority filter. Again, authority signals like backlinks matter. That technical and structure health as well matters a lot. Content relevancy, of course. Again, a lot of this we already knew, but it's just nice to know that EEAT is still there. So yeah, kind of a good screenshot here, I think. It very summarizes the entire algorithm pretty well. Of course, this is simplified. Next up, we have a lovely ChatGPT study and the implications for search and content. Again, there's a lot of, I think one of the things that stood out was that 25% of the searches are now information seeking, which is up from 14% a year earlier. So there's an overlap between traditional search behavior. And I think some might argue you can start your journey in ChatGPT and then you go into Google to kind of finalize it. I think there's still a lot of trust in Google and blue links, especially for older people, is what I remember for some previous studies here. But there's non-work use is dominating by 73%, so still. Coding is just 4.2%, again, very niche. But very, very interesting study. So just read up on it, especially if you have clients who are really interested in having visibility and wants a lot more like studies and information on ChatGPT. This one is a pretty good study. And then there's an interesting take here. I forgot to put the link in here. I'll have to add it. It's a take on X around how LLM is a presentation layer in a search. So it can never truly replace search, and it needs to be grounded in an index with a search algorithm, etc. So we always need that. And I guess the take here / theory is that AI will never truly replace, but it is a good way to present an index. So you can do a search. It relies on grounding. There's still Google in the back, but then you have AI presenting the information in a different way, and also being able to interact with it in like a chat thing. All this really says is it gives Google a lot more reasons to win the AI race because it has all those things except the AI layer, which is already introducing. So yeah, very interesting stuff. I think it's a good take. And basically kind of helps us also kind of prioritize like, okay, AI will not replace search and we still need to do classic search optimizations to be present in AIs. All right, we've got a pretty big one here. Google announced, well, they say the biggest upgrade in Chrome's history. There's a lot going on here. The big one is Gemini is directly in Chrome. So AI mode and Gemini directly in Chrome. What this means is that what they're saying is that what will happen soon is Gemini and in your browser will be able to summarize pages quickly, interact, you can ask it questions about a page. It might be able to actually book things and do actions, maybe even purchase, perhaps not yet, but do all of these sorts of actions directly in your Chrome browser as well. And this might change how users interact with websites. Specifically, how are we going to track the journey? And also, how do we then optimize for this type of agents? I think what I've been talking a lot about is semantic HTML. Are we using all these semantic HTMLs like nav, footer, and there's 30 more of these, so we should be using them a lot more. Accessibility is perhaps a thing as well. So all these things make sense to look into, but overall it's a pretty big announcement. So there's a lot. I'm not going to go through all of them here, but please go in and read exactly. We can see here why does it matter for SEOs? Again, content needs to be structured for clarity, etc., security and trustworthiness, etc., etc. It's becoming an AI-powered agent, so to speak, Chrome. And another one here is Google Merchant Center widget. So Merchant Center store widget, basically. Google is now announcing you can add this like little store widget on your website for key pages, categories, products, wherever you want, really. And if you have a good Merchant Center score, if you have good ratings, if you have all these good things that you want to show people, this can actually improve your UX and trust directly in the page. I don't think I'm not saying it's a search ranking factor or anything like that. I guess if it's not generated by JavaScript, a lot of AI crawlers could see it, and it could help with trust. But overall, it's mostly users on your website. It might increase the conversion rates and trust, etc. So I think it's worth adding. And also, people stay longer on your website and interact with it, that is signals that are sent back to algorithms like Google's to rank you differently. So they kind of all tie in together, right? If your website is easier to navigate and people stay on it longer, it will affect your rankings, I think. I think we've got enough proof of that from the ranking leaks, etc. That was a long time ago, by the way. This one's a small little update here. There's a new prompt volume tool in Profound. So we're using Profound for LLM tracking, reporting specifically for LLMs. We found that this is one of the better tools, although Peak.ai is also very good. There's probably tons more, but we had to narrow our search and tests. Anyway, there's a new prompt volume tool in Profound, so you can see how many prompts have mentioned certain keywords, brands, etc. So really, really interesting. Try it out if you have Profound. And then finally, this one is this feels like a big one here. So from Tim Solo here saying, he's have a take here that says the era of evergreen SEO content is dead or fading, giving away to what he calls fast SEO. Again, the core idea is all these ultimate guides too can still bring you value and traffic, and I think in many cases I can argue can bring topical authority. Like if you don't have your basic guides around something, you need all those basic information to then write all the niche one and then have that authority. Google sees the section and how well you've filled it out with information, and it helps everything rank in that section. So that's one top thing we shouldn't be completely ignoring. But I like the idea of also looking at trends and picking up on trends. If you're the first one to write about a concept that people search for, you're not even getting AI overviews. It seems like what he's saying here and what his analysis suggests is Google will not feature recent stuff in AI overviews and such things. So a lot of people might search for a new trending topic, and we should be. He's showing graphs saying, look at the amount of traffic for some search engine articles, and they just go up and then they kind of stabilize and go down. And if we keep doing that, we keep getting new traffic in. And I think it's a pretty good point. And I would like to add on top of that doing this is something we have helped clients do for getting backlinks and mentions. So hopping on trends and writing things, but merging that with actual clicks and traffic and rankings and kind of getting that, like we're talking about a trending topic, we can rank for it. We can get traffic that might convert. We can also get mentions and backlinks. If you rank, you can be shared in other things. If things are trending, people are writing about it. And if you're the number one resource in Google, people will naturally link to you. And then you can also do outreach. So I really like that idea. And I think it's merging classic backlink strategy and classic evergreen SEO strategy and kind of giving that middle ground, which I think is very healthy. If you've got the resources for it, I'd say he's quite on point here. So yeah, that was really the news from last week. So a lot of stuff going on here. I think one thing that I didn't mention here, but the August spam update is supposed to end today. So probably next Monday I'll have more information guides on what happened. But I just want to remind people that some sex shop stores that we've seen have dropped and then slowly gotten back. So there's been like this very sharp drop. I think the Google spam update did a bit of an overkill and then kind of had to go back to normal things. So just watch out if you're in a sensitive area. And I'll have more information on the spam update probably next week. Please please subscribe. I post every Monday these kind of 20-minute videos summarizing last week's news. I'm Frederick Drost. I work for Précis Digital. And yeah, leave a comment if you want to suggest anything we can add. And otherwise, I'll see all of you beautiful people next week.